with authorities, which very often, unlike you, underestimate us and belittle us. Your Holiness led your people at only 15 years old and successfully did so. So I would like to ask, how can we gain the trust of our people despite our age?
And then, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's quite natural.
Yeah. And if I can just ask Noor to chime in, because she has a similar question to this.
It's quite natural in the world when we live in communities that this kind of things happen. Like you said, the elders, the authorities, and so forth look down upon you as children.
Usually we have this sort of habit, childish. At the children's side, younger generation, look, old people, useless. I think materialistic life, I think this sort of problem, I think more alive. Only think about sort of material value. Then those retired people now no longer making money. Only eat. So I noticed there's some high official, civil servant in this country. After they retired from their sort of office, soon they become, it's a very sort of the number of shoes.
They become like aged very quickly.
Huh? So in the society, think about material value. Then, after retired, no longer sort of way to high salary. Then I think mentally also some kind of thing. So these, I think, materialistic life, because of the drawback of materialistic life, without knowing our inner value. Inner value is concerned, the older people, more experience. So can be teacher, isn't it? In the family, the older one, more experience, the accept some stupid old people. That's the exception. Otherwise, usually it's more experience. Younger people is full of enthusiasm, but often their thinking is unrealistic. Like that, and then?
So let me ask Noor to chime in, because I think her question is very related to the points that you're making.
My name is Noor. I come from Libya.
Libya.
Yeah, use this.
I come from Libya, from Syrian origins as well. I'd like to add to my friends what Sarah said. Growing up, in a supportive environment of elderly like my father and teachers, I was surprised when I grew up and I stepped into working in the society to find that elderly in leading positions were not as supportive, and what I thought was the norm was actually the exception. So just briefly and simply, my question to you is, as an elderly leader in 21st century, how do you connect with the younger, how were you able to connect with the younger generation? And if you have a message to those leaders, what would you tell them about us maybe, and how they could engage and connect with us maybe better?
Yeah.
저의 말한 준비 살롱 집에 거는 나랑 다시 봐봤다 상미 개비오다 간지되는 야구시 요구 유상은 아니 살롱 지은데 다시 지도나 내가 지도 좀 볼다 가서 코네 여기에 다 대주님도 가서 내가 지도 좀 봐도 아니 난 당연히 시제민도스 인샤샤 시에드레민도 그 거기에만 부서도서 디찬에 다시 그래서 슈인게디 zul라 겨울무치기 다시 컨데스니 직접 대화나야 돼 난투요이나스 아니간다 공림 기타치 레제다 된줄라 아지 믹스 제대 준비나 걸로도 걸려나야나스
네 kinship faith. I think all these, I think a lack of moral principle. Just thinking, if I deal this person, what I get benefit, and mainly in the material field. Then old people are no longer productive. So the younger people feel useless. Now, like Japan, I think number of elder people now much increasing. So some problems there. But if you have some moral principle, then of course the older people, it's really worthwhile to respect. And the younger people respect elder people, very important. Then more close relation, the young people can learn many experiences from elder, useful. So these, I think, overall, the society, materialistic society, only is thinking about money, 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 money. Then these problems will happen. So, I think overall, I think today's world, I think moral principle standard, I think low. Because of our education. Our existing education, as I mentioned, often I mentioned materialistic oriented. Then religious side, the influence of religious thing, less and less, less. Young, educated, scientific-minded, even my own sort of friend, one Christian priest, wonderful person. He mentioned to me, in Europe nowadays, young, educated, more scientific-minded people, he finds it very difficult to explain about God. Now, in that respect, I think India is something different. Training of our mind, vipassana, shamatha. These are training of our mind. Whether there is God or not, that's something different question. Our daily life, training our mind. And through training, increasing a sense of concern of others' well-being. So that, I think, that way we can promote the moral sort of, the moral principle, like that. I feel that.
And Your Holiness, the related challenge is how to help elder leaders take youth leaders more seriously.
Elder people themselves also, you see, a lack of moral principle, doing something different.
So same answer, whether you're young or old.
Oh, what?
Your same advice, whether it's old elder leaders taking youth seriously or youth taking elders seriously.
I think elder people showing, I think the one way we can see the elder people, they are very cunning. Often lying and use force. So the young people also felt in order to make money, or you have to become more aggressive and a liar. People more honest, more truthful. Sometimes, unfortunately, in a competitive society, these people not become significant. Big liar. And then more attraction. I don't know. So the overall picture of humanity mainly is related with education. Our existing education. Therefore, now my commitment is try to revival of ancient Indian knowledge about, you see, mind, about emotion, how to tackle our emotion. Through that way, become more honest, truthful, compassionate. Not through belief, faith, but use our brain. What is the value? For temporary, honest may fail something. Too much big liar, aggressive, more successful. Long run, harmful. Isn't it? So I think ancient Indian tradition about our mind, that I think very useful, very relevant to today's world. So India itself, the modern education introduced by Britisher, so materialistic oriented, isn't it? So now time comes, revival of ancient Indian knowledge, combine ancient Indian knowledge dealing with mind, emotion, then modern education, you see, dealing with material development. So combine these two things. Isn't it? So I totally dedicated, and you see, college here, now they fully sort of support, they agree my view. So we already, you see, start some program.
We're working on that project.
Yeah.
It's on the final stage now, working on that project.
Right, right. So very good. So I have just a mouth, no hand. Oh, talk. So these people with hand. So with their help, this is some of my idea now eventually can materialize. Isn't it? Like that.
So, Your Holiness, I'd like to bring in a couple of our youth leaders to talk about some of the other challenges facing them as young leaders in their societies. So, Waberi, do you want to go next?
Thank you very much. My name is Waberi, and I'm from Somalia. And I want to start my talk with saying, I'm Waberi from Somalia, and I want to say thank you very much for your wisdom and generosity of your time and actually you have inspired us a lot. And my story starts right after my graduation in 2014 from high school, when most of my classmates immigrated from our country to a deadly journey to Europe through the Mediterranean Sea, where most of them died, not because they're hopeless, not because they're unskilled, not because they don't have the opportunity to build the dream that they have in their mind, but the system and the culture is discouraging and doesn't give them the opportunity to grow in terms of career and in terms of experience. So begging from your experience, how youth can remain empowered and challenging when the culture and the political system is discouraging them, because there is this notion in my country that youth are always the future leaders, and tomorrow is always the future. So how can I be, as a young man, the leader of today, not tomorrow? Yeah.
I think yesterday I already mentioned today's also the situation or way of life, way of thinking due to our education system. So a lot of problems there. If this continue, I think more problem. The poor people, more suffering. Without justice, then always suffer. So India also now, the poorer section of people, difficult. And then on top of that, the one backward drawback in the caste system. And then, so everywhere, I think people without money, without power, always suffer. And then the global level, fighting, killing. Of course, I respect the American president elected by the people. Wonderful. But now he withdraw from, he start nuclear arsenal. Nuclear car. The nuclear sort of weapon or something. So these, I think, not good sign. On the other hand, the Russia also, you see, unpredictable. And China also now putting more emphasis about weapon, these things. So global level, unstable. Then individual country, also is a lot of corruption, a lot of problem. The Saudi Arabia sort of this news sort of recent event. Very sad, very sad. So religious leaders, also a lot of corruption. So the great thing is the Haryana, that great sadhu, now in prison, isn't it? I think that also, I think, is good sign, rule of law. Under law, including spiritual leader, all equal. Wonderful, really wonderful. So now the question is, today's situation is okay. Do you satisfy? Then, you see, when we seeing television, as I mentioned earlier, oh, poor people, they're facing starvation, plenty of food there. Still, you see, yet some people are dying. In Africa also, you see, some people really It's a very poor condition. And climate also one addition. Now climate difficulties will increase. So now we human, we should carry the sense of brotherhood, sisterhood, and work together. So therefore, we have to think different way. Some change existing sort of situation. Otherwise, you see, things become worse and worse. So now, at this moment, there is opportunity, some change. So we should determine and make effort without much expectation. As I mentioned yesterday, I'm not expecting some positive change within my lifetime. I'm not expecting. My life, I think next 10, 20 years, I think we'll carry this way. So not much problem with the name of Dalai Lama and my smile. So a lot of friends there. So next 10, 20 years, I can manage this way. But I am part of the humanity. So I have to think the 7 billion human beings' well-being. Otherwise, my prayer become hypocrisy. Pray something, entire sentient being, all human being, but doing nothing. A hypocrisy. If my practice thinking entire sentient being seriously, then you should try. As much as possible to make some contribution, better world. So therefore, my point is, you see, due to some problem, disregard, lose hope, is wrong. No matter how difficult it is, we must determine, we must work with full confidence. As I mentioned yesterday, optimism is the source of success. Pessimism is source of defeat.
Your Holiness, can I ask Matrix to come in on exactly this
Yes.
point? Matrix?
His Holiness, it's really pleasure to meet you. I'm from Myanmar, Burma, Northeast of the Burma, border of China. I live like near to Yunnan. I work in I born in a very conflict areas. It's been like 60 years we have been wars, and no one is now even interested in it because we have been wars every time.
그래서 가.
Yeah. I have youth from my work is that I work in a youth policy, and I work in a youth protection wards from the war zone. So sometimes I help youth from get out of the war area, or if they are taken by the arms group. Sometimes when I help them, it's not really working. The thing is like the families, the peoples are really expecting our organizations, and we are doing our best, but it is not working. So we feel guilty by ourselves. So the question is how youth can overcome guiltiness or like loneliness when people are expecting a lot and we are doing our self-best and it's not working, and we have many things on our shoulder. How can we overcome that?
And can I would like to ask Mohammed to come in on a similar issue.
Thank you, Nancy. It's a very great honor to be here with you, and thank you so much, Your Holiness, for your time. I'm Mohammed from Somalia. I came from a country which has been in a civil war for more than 25 years, a country which has many commonalities like one ethnicity, one religion, one culture, but at the same time face conflicts which are based on tribalism. My history starts from an incident which happened to me, especially caused by that civil war. One day they were fighting, one of the fighting groups came to our house and broke the door and tried and did something bad to my family, especially my father and my mother. And at that time I was very young, and there was nothing I could do, but I felt very painful. It was very painful for me. So from that time I started to stand for peace and advocating for peace. So still in the country, there are many challenges that youth face, especially they are killed if they stand for advocating or doing something good for the society. So with your experience, which you shared with us yesterday, I see similar experience, similar history when you fled from your country while still young because of the threat that you faced. So my question is, how can youth keep working for their communities and take leadership while they are under the physical threat? Thank you so much, Your Holiness.
Under attack.
Under physical attack or under physical threat.
It's very difficult. My own story, 10th March, 10th, 17th, January, 17th March 59. So the things become really so desperate, and the danger for my own life develop. Then there's no other way escape except escape. So some cases You see, there is no other choice except escape. Then what to do? But in principle, as I mentioned earlier, you see, today's situation in your own case, you see, the very unhappy situation. So we have to change. Who carry change or effort? Their own people, your own people. So like you see, already saw the backwardness, defect side. So, from one person, you see, through talk, through discussion, you can multiply 10. 10, each one. Again, you see some more friend. So that means from 1 to 10, 10 to 100, 100 to 1,000, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000. So that's the only way. So you should not discourage. Things are difficulties. So sometimes you may feel lonely. The problem huge. I cannot much do. So then you should think your principle is something because of very noble. So in spite some difficulties, there is possibility to achieve that goal. Because you see, your goal is justified way. Just. I always see mentioning, you see, between the struggle of Chinese communists and we, is our sort of strength, or say, power of truth. The Chinese government side, power of gun. So for temporary, power of gun is more decisive. But in the long run, power of truth is more stronger, more powerful than power of gun. So with that belief, you see, we carry sort of our struggle. So after now 60, 70 years, now even Chinese themselves, now more and more people now really showing their concern or begin to realize their mistake. So determination with optimistic sort of thinking. There's no other choice. You have to fight. Okay. Then beside your action, effort, then pray to God. Then God is willing to help you. Without our effort, then pray. Not much effect. Okay.
And what about you've spoken before about how to manage feelings of guilt. Matrix's question of feeling like you just can't do enough, and you feel guilty.
That's my feeling, my view. So you have more responsibility.
They have lots of responsibility. And, you know, it's that balancing of universal with specific cultures and religion, local level with global level, and navigating all of that in the face of a lot of danger, I think is the summary of the challenges that this exceptional group of young leaders is facing. And you mentioned that there's this sense of an awakening. Certainly this group represents that. But I also want to ask, you know, we are very fortunate to have with us some of the young leaders who were here in previous years, and they've come back to serve as trainers and to connect in an ongoing network. And Matrix, can you hand the microphone? I think Aluel is right behind you. And Aluel, do you want to make any reflections on, you know, what this experience last year did for you as you continued with your work, and remind His Holiness where you're from?
Okay. My name is Aluel, and I am from South Sudan. I was here last year as a participant, but I also have the opportunity, or had the opportunity, to come back and meet you the second time, and I feel like this is beyond privilege to actually be able to just sit back here and absorb everything that you're saying, both what you said last time and get to understand certain meanings from the advice you gave us last year. You know, it's one thing to just interact with you, but it's another to just sit back, observe, and just learn from your practical way of living. Because when you sit here, you're not just listening to you speak. You can actually feel that this is a person that lives what he says. And as a young person, that really left a very, very strong mark on me. Your humility in your leadership journey, you are a global icon. But then when I met you, it's like I was talking to my uncle or my grandfather. And that level of connectivity, being able to be a leader and at the same time very relatable, was something that really, really inspired me. And your constant emphasis on emotional intelligence, emotional awareness, and your peace of mind and compassion for others are qualities that as young people, like you already mentioned, we are so nurtured to be materialistic, and all you think about is me and how can I be, you know, more powerful and more famous. And when you get to hear the aspect of life from your point of view, it really gives us a clear sense of where all the conflicts we're dealing with right now in our different countries actually arise from. Because there is so much emphasis on our identities, and with regards to that, we end up creating a my and they kind of narrative. And as young people, I think this is a very, very important aspect that we need to reflect on and get to the root cause of where are these conflicts coming from, to not just think of it at this level, but the small, small, small things. And I really appreciate you giving us examples and emphasizing on education, because I believe to change attitude, to change minds as young people, we really need to also change the values we are passing on to the next generation. Because to me, I understand that that is where the root cause of the conflict is. And you are right. With the angle you look at young people, you value us. You make us feel like we have a role to play. And when someone interacts with you and you go back, we made a promise last year that we will go and be little Dalai Lamas in our countries. And I'm really glad to see another group of young people come to interact with you. And now the Dalai Lamas are also growing, and they will go back and be the other 28 Dalai Lamas in their countries. So this is really, really an honor. And it's not just for the youth that are in this space, but the youth outside that are using technology to also feel like they are part of this space. And that is a million and a big influence you're making. And that is really, really the one aspect or the hope that we as young people need to carry forward. And I'm also glad and happy to hear you say that you are a feminist Dalai Lama. So that is also that is something that we as young people who are not battling just being young,
but being a young woman in your leadership journey, to hear someone like you bring out the aspect of feminism and why it's important to treat humanity with equality regardless of one's gender. This is really a very, very inspiring message, and I think the young people in this space will leave feeling different after this encouragement. So once again, thank you so much for giving us your time.
Thank you, Alua.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Sharif, were you trying to get a question in?
Thank you, Nancy. Your Holiness, we talked about anger, about peace building, and also about the conference that you said that India should organize a kind of Islamic conference. Well, yes, of course, that is helpful. Like it's a kind of from top to bottom approach for peace building. I wanted to know that what is the role of youth in peace building from a bottom-up approach?
I think, firstly, awareness, mainly method, so how to change. I think that level, I think from top to down. Then the movement, I think from because of below or bottom to, or movement, as I mentioned earlier, the worldwide movement. That's the public level. But idea, I think, logically, is to come from from top, like that. So in any way, it is really encouraging many youth now really making effort, no matter how small. But this is seed. And our work, you see, there is plenty of reason. You see, if we argue with someone who have different view, I think we have more reason to argue them. So long run, you see, the thing which we involve, more sound basis. So there is much hope, you see, to strengthen our work. See, the troublemaker in our society, short-sighted, and too much emotion. If we sit together, discuss, I think they have not much reason. They are only arrogant field, arrogant marbe, like that. So our effort is very much based on reason, truth, reality. So no matter how difficult it is at the initial stage, you see, we will success. Okay. Then I think I may share, you see, our work aiming for humanity. I always thinking these, when I thinking these and talk, I consider I'm human being, one of the 7 billion human beings. I'm not thinking or talking. I'm Buddhist. So that's, I think, something, according to my own experience, I think the person, see, the individual faith, Muslim, Christian, Jews, Hindus, and non-believer, but our work, not individual sort of faith. We are thinking humanity. So that's, I think, if we too much emphasis individual sort of faith on these things or race, then sometimes it become more complicated. when we discuss about humanity, then the different religion, different nationality, different color, these are secondary. Then 7 billion human beings, so we are same. It's a common ground to fight for so happiness or peaceful world. So then different religion is secondary level, or different nationality, secondary level. Okay. When we talk about humanity, my religion is best way to solve all this problem. It's unrealistic. If I feel, Buddhism is the best way to solve this problem, it's wrong. Buddhism, my private business, as I mentioned earlier. You see that story. So some people believe God, some people do not believe God. It doesn't matter. That's private business. We all human beings. We all come from our mother. We all survived with mother's milk. So we are living among the humanity, among the human being. Even there are some hermit people. Without a human society, they can't survive. So they temporarily, or their sort of daily sort of work, hermit. I think a few years ago, I met one Catholic monk in Barcelona. There's a big temple, Montserrat or something. See, there one Catholic monk. I was told he spent 5 years in hermit life. Tea, hot tea, otherwise not much hot meal, bread. So he deliberately isolate, solid, isolate.
Solitude.
But his survival depends on the society. So that's nature. So private life, you see, thinking, or certain sort of hermit life, but still part of the society. So have to think about the society. Many years ago, I visited in pathology in Switzerland, and later in England also developed pathology. So when I visit pathology in Switzerland, some children, Jewish group, some Palestine, in same school, same institution, played together. I really felt that's the way in children's mind, not much differences. Grown up and with too much emphasis, Palestine, Jews, that's our creation. Due to narrow-mindedness, too much emphasis on secondary level of differences. That's the source of problem. Now, because you see many problems due to too much emphasis on secondary level of differences, now we must go basic level. We are same human being. Okay. So that's my fundamental belief. Okay. Now, I think lunch.
But before we do that, Your Holiness, if I can just offer some thanks. First and foremost, thanks to you. You have been unbelievably generous with your time over these last 2 days, and I know everybody in the room is extremely grateful. You are making an enormous difference in the lives of people who are determined in the face of great challenges to build peace. So all of us offer our heartfelt gratitude to you for this time together. And this would not happen without a lot of contribution from people on your team and people on the USIP team and others. So if I could just call them out so that we can express our thanks together. First of all, your secretaries, Tenzin and Setsin, have been extraordinary, and we want to thank both Tenzin and Seton, who aren't in the room right now, but your office. Big thanks to your chef, who has fed us and will feed us in a moment, and to his whole team, and to all of your personal attendants. We know that we've made extra work for everybody, but we are very grateful. And Chojur and the AV team, who has been working hard for these last 2 days, and Jigme and your security team, lots of effort. Jigme, yeah, and then everyone in the Nyamgol monastery and the abbot of the monastery school have been wonderful hosts to us, and we appreciate that.
Oh,
yeah,
good.
Yeah. Big thanks to Libby Liu, who has been an inspiration for the last 3 years of this program, and for RFA for their collaboration. I want to thank the GHR Foundation, which has been a wonderful partner to us. Libby, thank you. And GHR, located in my home state of Minnesota. Many thanks. I really need to give a big shout out to my U.S. Institute of Peace colleagues who have been working tirelessly for the last year. Vicky Rivera, Allison Malowski, Aubrey Cox, Shai Corman, and Ellie Quinlan, who are here with us today. But so many other USIP colleagues who are also back in Washington, and we thank all of you who are providing support. This is truly a labor of love across USIP, and this is, I'll tell you, a highlight of my year, of being able to be here with you and these remarkable young leaders. I want to thank all of our thought leaders for joining us, for bringing your time and your commitment and your energy to this conversation. And a really, really special thanks to Calden, who is our co-creator and the one who's really driven making a lot of this. And thanks to Libby for enabling that to happen. So this is a wonderful blessing for all of us. And we will be reflecting on the power of this conversation for a long time to come. Thank you. And thanks to the youth. And thank you to the youth leaders for everything they do every day in tough circumstances. And you are the future of peace and the realization of our shared vision of a world without violent conflict. So no pressure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So this, I think, happy sort of gathering, this also, you see, come through individuals' effort with common aim, then this result come. So similarly, I think well-being of 7 million human beings also you see come that way. From each corner, make effort, and a clear vision, happy world, peaceful world. I think only question of time. I think everybody wants happy life, but ignorance and short-sighted, then doing something different thing. That can change. Okay. Thank you.
And you're a small token, a peace hat from U.S. Institute of Peace to help.
Okay, thank you.
To help you have great thoughts of peace as you move through the sun.
Your president also wear this kind of color.
No. This is the U.S. Institute of Peace logo. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.